Hello and welcome to the 445 Productive Through Joy Show with your host and your boy, Dr. Michael Datcher. The show airs each weekday morning, hella early AF at 4:45 a.m. here on YouTube's Michael Datcher channel, then 4:45 p.m. on Facebook Live. Guys, today we're talking about thoughts. Man, there's nothing that we do that's more important than this conversation. Thoughts, the power of thinking, where your mind is at, where you're placing your thoughts, because as we know, just through modern metaphysics, through quantum physics, we know that thoughts are things. Thoughts have the power to impact things in the world of phenomena. So, interesting show planned today. Thanks for being here. So, you can go to productivethroughjoy.com, see about us. We speak to groups, schools, and organizations about being productive through joy. We're updating our website. We're adding a bunch of videos and all this stuff is taking forever, but it'll be up soon. So yeah, until then, you can just go to michaeldatcher.com and get a sense of what we do. Or just Google me as we do what we do as we do. All right, so guys, let's dive in. So let me first say a few words about myself first, because that's an important part of this show, because, you know, this is your host and your boy, Dr. Michael Datcher, author of the New York Times bestseller Raising Fences, author of the acclaimed historical novel America's, author of Animating Black and Brown Liberation, A Theory of American Literatures. I'm the board president of the World Stage, great nonprofit here in Los Angeles. My educational background is UC Berkeley as an undergrad, my master's from UCLA, and my PhD in English literature from the University of California at Riverside. Guys, I'm an expert at being productive, all right? I don't say that to brag or boast. I say because people are almost always surprised to hear that brief bio when they hear my background. I am the product of a young girl who was assaulted at age 16, gave birth to me at 17, and subsequently gave me up for adoption to a single divorcee. So at the time, no biological father, no adopted father. Listen, difficult times for the young MD at school. Moby Banks said, "How you like me now?" Right? And if I can be this productive and be so through joy, I know many people can in their own way, in their own lane, because that really inspires this show, because I know it's not where you're from, it's where you're about to go. So thanks for joining me, and let's dive into the topic. Let's get into the piece, as my boy says. Let's get into the piece. So today we're talking about thoughts, and point one is that you want to do your own due diligence about the power of thoughts. I'm going to tell you a few things which hopefully will initiate you thinking more about it and doing your own research. Even online can help you, even basic cursory knowledge, because of the development of quantum physics. We know that thoughts are things, and thoughts can impact phenomena. If you're an athlete, you know about sports psychology, and there's been probably 30 years of this research now, probably more than that. But for those of us who played sports, know sports, we know, certainly in the Olympic, because the Olympics are such a big money enterprise now, although it's officially, it was amateur, but never really. But also professional sports are so huge that people are investing extraordinary money into their career. So you may know, if you know basketball, that LeBron James spends about $1 million just in maintaining his body. People are learning that if I'll invest in myself, I have a better chance of having a longer career and being more successful. So as a part of that, even a casual sports fan knows about sports psychology, knows about visualizing the victory of the ball going in, or visualizing the race. So that's that has become kind of a thing that has entered into the pop cultural conversation, which is basically quantum physics, which includes the idea that thoughts can literally impact things, all right? So do some homework. That's point one. Point two is that you want to practice. So I had a really interesting morning this morning, which I won't get to do because I want to talk about this on the air, but I was, meditating, thinking, using my own spiritual practice, and just being able to impact my own world of phenomena, and just a reminder about how powerful that is. And it's not me, because this is science, so it can be replicated. Basically by anyone, if you do the work, put in the time and learn about it. But it involves faith, belief, that's a part of it. It isn't all of it, but certainly it plays a role. You may have heard about, just by living and being alive. What is the term that people use in the medical profession? I can't think of the word now. It'll come to me in a second, I'm sure. But when you believe that a thing is going to happen, that thing has a greater opportunity to happen, right? And so when we do medical trials, when people do medical trials in our country, they'll be blind because they find that when the observer, the researcher thinks things are going to go a certain way, that actually happens to impact it. They try to. I'm not sure how they explain that without saying, "Oh man, our thoughts are impacting this stuff." That's exactly what's happening because thoughts can impact things. So once you believe it, in fact, the more that you believe that your thoughts can impact things, and it's more than that. I mean, in my system of meditation, it's a mixture. It's an ancient African system, ancient Kemetic. Kemet is the name that Africans gave who lived in what we now know as Egypt, that region. They called that land, not Egypt. They call it Kemet. There are no vowels in the transliteration, so it's just KMT, but we pronounce it Kemet because that's what people, the Egyptologists and folks study that region insert vowels so they can pronounce some of these words. At times it's Kamit, at times it's Kmet. I just say Kemet, Kemet, but they call themselves that land Kemet, which translates as roughly the land of the blacks, and they call themselves Kamau, Kam. It could be Kemau, Kam, but Kamau or black people. So my system is an ancient black system for meditation, and it's rooted on the same idea, of course, because I'm sure this is in my knowledge, this is the oldest version of these ideas that I've seen in print. And I'm sure the ideas are older than the actual printed books because they had to be passed down, of course, from back in the day, from ancient, even older knowledge. But the ideal is to know thyself because as its foundational principle, although again, the Greeks have tried to usurp that, even modern scholars have tried to associate that phrase, know thyself, with the Greeks, which is the lying that people do on black people. That's an ancient African idea. And it's rooted in the idea that if you know thyself, you know that you learn, if you come to know thyself, you know that God is inside yourself, that primordial thing, that creator. And because the qualities of God, of the creator, is that the spirit God is a creator. So when you know yourself, that you can do what God can do, which is create. I don't want to get too far afield into that, but that's what it's basically based upon. And so faith is a major part of this system. Right? You have to believe. It's so powerful that if you don't believe it that much, it still can work because it's science. But the more that you believe it, the more it works. So you want to practice with a sense of belief and urgency. And when you tether emotion, so emotional belief, what we call it experiencing, where you're like actually, or virtualizing, where you're actually in, you see, if you want to win the race, you see yourself, you hear the starting gun going off, you see yourself running, you hear your breathing, you see yourself crossing that finish line first, and you have the emotion of that victory. That's what people do in sports. But that same technique can be used in your goal of starting a certain type of business, or your goal of being a certain type of parent, or whatever you want to be, So that's kind of how it works. So the more that you practice it, which is point 2, the better you get at it because it works. So you begin to have, we call it demonstrations. You begin to see things that you meditated upon and visualize. It manifests in the world of phenomena because it's true that thoughts are things. And so when it begins to happen, you're just like, even me, I've done this for quite a while. And sometimes, I'm human, you just think when it happens, you're like, oh my God, this stuff works, And it isn't just about getting stuff or doing things or, it's not a game, but it is important, I think, to keep that sense of wonder and excitement about like, wow, I know it works. It's science, like science works. Although we do have part of the country because, not because of Mr. Trump, but propelled by Mr. Trump to distrust anything that spoke against his desires, including science. It's crazy. We know science is real. I hope you know that science is real. But so is metaphysical science. So the more that you practice, the better it works. And you start manifesting things, and which is point 3. As you manifest, you get more powerful, and you manifest more things. Boom, goes the dynamite. Guys, we'll see you this afternoon at 4:45 p.m. Until then, let's talk about it and be about it. Deuces, I'm out.